in the corner so everybody's aware that we're recording. Excellent. So I just wanted to review what we talked about last time. For our last meeting, you know, we chatted about what kind of direction we wanted to go in, and how the things that we were already working on and talking about, the initiatives, how we can actually get them going, and you know, where our heads are at after taking a break for a moment. You know, everybody signed an interim agreement. Eric, I got to get one for you. It's just an interim agreement. I'm on the leadership committee. I agree until the end of February to help, you know, be on the leadership committee, essentially 5 hours of donating a month. And I'm not going to be a jerk.
That.
Yeah. Oh, you did send it.
You.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So I probably already have yours then. Okay. So everybody signed those then. You know, and we talked about communication tools to talk about what the expectations are, what defines harassment in the code of conduct, and what is the action step, the process to go through to have somebody have a temporary ban, to have somebody have a permanent ban. What's that process? And then what we also want to talk about, oh, and then we talked about tools the last time, about the main goals. And the main goals were, you know, really to establish a sense of community, to tighten up the code of conduct, and then to talk about how we can do more education, make it open, reach more people. Some of the talking points were, you know, things like restoring equilibrium after we grew too fast and we lost cohesiveness. So people really want to bring back that cohesiveness and have different events and fun things that groups can kind of tie into. We talked about, you know, now we're discussing ways we want to level up. And so these conversations you've already been talking about throughout the year, but really what I'm talking about is the implementation and the strategy now for releasing them and giving a structure to them. So everybody understands what's expected of them and how to enforce a code of conduct if something is not handled properly. And then also, you know, a big thing was experimenting with different models that, you know, maybe would have sponsors pay for stream content and some kind of way to monetize the existing stuff that you're already doing. So we were talking about somebody threw out training programs. Somebody was talking about different events. Yeah, we already have the playbook for the big events. We can get those sponsored. Let's reach as many people as possible. We already did 3 last year. We've got all the kinks worked out. Now let's really hammer it hard with, you know, what can we possibly do, and what's reasonable, so that what you're actually doing, we can monetize. So it's just some ideas that we threw out last time. So today, I wanted to go over our agenda, our survey results. We're going to talk about that. I did put together just a baseline code of conduct document. I started to take out, you know, these bits and pieces out of other codes of conduct. And I thought, look, we're already on the Twitch platform. This timing is perfect. It's already going to be a living document. We can just put in here as defined by Twitch's harassment policy here, with links to Twitch's policy, with links to Microsoft's virtual events policy already. So I found copies of those on Discord that are open for the public to use, as well as another one that I took bits and pieces of. And that code of conduct, let me just see. Again, it was on GitHub, and here we go. From Annalie Flower Horn's sample Slack code of conduct. And then it was adopted based on the Geek Feminines, Feminism's anti-harassment policy. And so this is all Creative Commons license, and also, you know, referencing the platforms that we use and display is really a good way to do it. Of course, I was taking line by line, but I'm done with that. I just put the links on there. This is how we define it. Don't do this. Now, the next thing I want to talk about after, like I said, is I want to identify some people have already signed up for some task forces in Discord, and we'd like to get those channels up so they can start working on some of those issues that were announced back in October. We can put all those things into those buckets. But really what I wanted to do today is talk about what parameters and processes we can give those task forces so they know what's the goal. Well, from the survey results, let me just show you. I'm going to share my screen here so we can see the survey results. So from the survey results, there isn't really anything glaring here. 19 people responded to the survey. And in fact, another handful, probably 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, just contacted me and said, just put me down for, I have nothing to say. I haven't been engaged. I don't know what's going on. It's fine. Like, whatever. If something's happening, let me know and I'll participate.
I see that apathy as a concern into itself. Right. And this was something that, as everything was going down and all of a sudden people are back in September.
Yes.
The apathy, and here's folks who literally weren't engaged finally saying, wait a sec.
I think that having these other tools that we had talked about before, a tighter code of conduct, the media page up on the website where we're featuring certain people in the marketing bucket. There've been a lot of conversations about a podcast. We'd love to do Meet a Live Coder every single week. That conversation's been happening. And then the newsletters people, there were some people who wanted to do that. When we have these additional communications and these additional tools, it'll start, picking up a little bit better, because even with me, I reached out to 145 live coders personally and directly in the last month through their public channels. First, I went through Twitter. If I couldn't reach them through Twitter, I went through, whatever was listed on their Twitch channel. Some people have YouTube and they had emails. Some people, I just contacted them through a Discord DM. And so, several of those people, I probably had about half of them, maybe a little under 40% maybe, who responded. But even then, it's hard to reach people, right? So we have to consistently train them that there's going to be a newsletter, there's going to be Twitter DMs, there's going to be emails, there's going to be on Discord, it's going to be on the website. We have to start letting people know that there are multiple channels, and the marketing task force, they'll be able to handle that. All those discussions are happening anyway, but once we give them the parameters and the process on how to adopt those new policies, we're in pretty good shape, coming out of the new year right already. So some of these tasks that said, what aren't being handled, congratulating the team for achievements. Again, this is going to just go into the regular communications that we put out, right? So once we have a podcast, obviously we'll be able to celebrate the achievements of people and the newsletter. So we're working on those. There's a little bit of visibility and wider context for the corporate level, which again, we talked about creating a press kit, and also being able to share the brand style guide to help the corporate people understand what we're all about, and to get them to encourage them to sponsor events. So that's kind of being worked on. So a lot of this is not that I've noticed, it's that apathy kind of stuff. There's just nowhere for them to plug in, really. And the communication tools, I think if we start training people to go to certain hubs, they'll check in every now and then. If people start getting used to, oh, Christina's going to DM me on Twitter once a month, they'll be checking their Twitter DMs more. So some other things, disseminating information for anyone interested. Support and encouragement for COVID affected members was a good feedback that I thought. New member applicants, of course, we have and promoting new team members. We have the task force for the new member applications as well. And they're going to be tasked with, how do we nurture people? How do we keep them in a mentorship kind of scenario where, they know what's next for them and what options are available, and who to talk to on the leadership committee if they need anything, maybe partner them up with a few other live coders who have been around for a while to kind of show them the ropes and the language and things. Broad promotion. People code on here. That's funny. I can't tell you how many people stumble on my stream and say people code on here. So that's kind of fun too, like a broader promotion thing. What could be executed better? Member participation, an up-to-date wiki, Okay, other tools that we can use to improve our streams. So the tools that live coders would use to improve their streams, I think that kind of goes both into the training bucket for that task force, and then also the mentorship task force for some ideas to how we're processing new people.
And there was a repository on the GitHub
that
folks started lobbing some checklists, some like stuff about how to make your own Twitch bot, stuff about
I did find that, yeah, the repository on GitHub. That's right, yeah, for all of those. And that's all useful stuff. As we grab it though and hand it to the task force to then spread that information out and make sure that everybody who's new is aware. Hey there, Lucky, I wanted to welcome you and let you know that we're recording.
No worries.
Yep, cool, welcome. So we're just going through the survey results. We had 19 people respond to the survey. There were 174 live coders as we speak today. And we were talking about how I tried to reach 145 one-on-one and probably got about 40% of the people who kind of responded, and 19 responded to the thing. But even through the survey, I told them, put in, if you don't know, or if you have nothing to say, just put that in there. So you can see, again, it really is a matter of people just wanting to engage, I think. And, it talks about communication and collaboration here. So top 3 core values, this I think isn't going to be a surprise to any of you, just looking at how you run your streams and how you've been communicating in Discord and everything, supporting developers who are content creators, encouraging innovation and creativity and personal growth, foster an inclusive learning environment, welcoming from all people from all backgrounds. Really, that's pretty much, I kind of put these 3 right here. This is pretty much everything else summed up. Learning, helping, including, sharing, helping, learning, every single thing that you see here. So we're really on track that everybody wants the same goal, right? It's learning, it's sharing, it's teaching, and it's experiencing. And as long as I think we put a little bit of more structure around things, people will know where to go. They'll know how to communicate. Their questions will be answered. There will be less frustration. And then even if the frustrations are ranting, we have some tools that are going to quickly manage those and manage that process as well. That's really the key. And I know, like we said earlier, these conversations, you've already been having these, but it's my goal to, support you in implementing them and creating that structure, because I'm looking at this stuff all the time. And I know that you guys have jobs and you're streaming, right? But this is the part that my eye's on the ball for all of this stuff all the time. If we looked at the activities, I told them put the activities from most important to least important. And I just kind of threw some things in there to see if anyone else would add some other things, or if they'd use these. But pretty much it was inclusion, learning, teaching, donating, making money, infotainment. So you could see inclusion, learning, teaching, all up front for every single person up here. So it's really great. I like to see so many of these people on the same page is what I've been hearing from the leadership committee. And I think that's really, really promising as we go into 2021. So as we go into 2021, what would you like to see live coders do more of? This stuff has been sorted into those buckets for the task forces as well. You had already talked about some of these things. So, meeting the live coder interviews, we talked about doing a podcast, maybe the marketing task force handles that. Co-streaming, collaborations, lots of collaboration requests. I don't know who Martin Woodward is. Can someone explain Martin Woodward?
Martin Woodward is head of developer relations at GitHub. I had him speak to the team in a private Discord session. It was like August, and talked to everybody about, showed us
brilliant. So like education,
new GitHub features. not just education, but here's an expert from a service that most of us use. And he's giving us access to be beta testers for new service coming online. Everybody go check it out, and we're going to show you how to use it, and we're going to answer questions and talk about GitHub in a private session so that any one of the teammates can engage and learn more about that. And we've had similar sessions with Scott Hanselman, with Richard Campbell, with Dee Dee Walsh, and it's been very well received. All the recordings for all of them are in the announcements channel. And
recordings for them are in the announcements channel.
And the one with Scott went so well, he turned it into a podcast.
Oh yeah, that's great.
He's like, this is great. I gotta publish this. I'm half tempted to reach out to him again and say, it's been about a year. Want to do it again? Yeah.
No, that's fun. I like that. And I would love to make sure that we have some kind of a repository that's pointing people in multiple ways to that channel. Maybe that's appropriate for like an internal training or something, even as we have people coming on board and nurturing babies. That would be great. Yeah.
The conversations with Scott and Richard were focused around, hey, we're right at the beginning of building podcasts and these communities. Here's folks who have been doing it very successfully for the last 10 to 15 years. Let's learn from them.
Yes. Yep. That's excellent. I love it. So scheduling some more of those, I think that'll be really great. And maybe that goes into the marketing bucket then, as far as booking those kinds of guests and those kinds of educational speakers, perhaps, or maybe even the training bucket for internal team training.
Gosh, we had John and Matt come through from Twitch as well.
Yeah.
So
no, that's really great when you're getting those extra bonus features just for the Discord team. That's a private audience. That's great. Let's see, what else? Promoting members, having larger organizations be a part of it, figuring out what the team wants to be, and
that's interesting.
Only add team members.
Number 6, I noticed that when I was reading through this, and I was like, are you kidding? Larger organizations and corporations become aware. Just about every company that's on Twitch knows about us and wants to be like us.
Aware might be the wrong word in this case, because perhaps they mean partnerships, just based on the other survey results. They could be, talking about actual long-standing partnerships. Here is what I interpreted that as. I mean, I could be wrong too. I could be wrong. Yeah. Promoting others. That's great. All hands meetings. We talked about doing more of those, more interviews. We talked about those. The talks and workshops, that's already in the training bucket. So you can see a lot of these things and concerns that people are asking and suggesting, we've already been talking about, right? Yep. It's just now going into 2021, it's the implementation of them. So a lot of these are just, they're fine. I don't see anything, really glaring that we weren't aware of. And so much of the comments are all about teaching, mentorship, helping others, and better communication. So, and then here's some great ideas about the way live coders can attract more sponsorships. We had talked about also doing one of those internal team training things as well. There were a couple people who said, here are some ideas, and I put those also in our shared Trello board, everyone. So, when we get to that, we can work on those as well. Okay, so I'm going to close this out, and what I wanted to talk about is I'm going to give everybody this code of conduct then. Where did it go? The code of conduct. And then we can all vote for yes, yes, no, no. And I already sent everybody a copy of it, but there were certain sections in there that I highlighted that just say, I'm not sure what you suggest here. And I know that you all have been streaming longer than I have, and you're in other Discord chats and on other Discord servers much longer than I have. So in those moments, those highlighted bits, we'll just have to decide, all right, well, what constitutes, when we have harassment, do we have a zero tolerance policy on this, or is this a 30-day temporary halt? And, you know, anybody, the moderator, the leadership committee, the founder, whoever's in there, as soon as the harassment as defined happens, then instantly their account gets paused, we take it offline, we talk about it, and then you go through a process. Either you're going to be temporarily for 30 days silenced and not in the group, or you're going to be completely out. It depends, whatever the leadership committee decides, you know, it depends on where you are with that. But there,
sorry, we're talking about code of conduct within the community, within the live coders, rather than the code of conduct that each broadcaster has for their individual stream.
That's correct. And so if they are representing the live coders, you know, I sent that example of let's just follow Twitch's, the platforms that we're using, we're going to follow their code of conduct. And also, you know, I pulled on Discord, on GitHub, the Microsoft virtual events code of conduct. So we reference these bodies right here, these platforms that we're using and engaging with as well. I pulled the other one, I can't remember, it was, oh, here we go, from, you know, the Geek Feminism's anti-harassment policy, and then Anna Lee Flower Horn's code of conduct for Slack, and that was all Creative Commons stuff. So I reference those, so it very specifically defines this is harassment. If any of this happens, it will be swift. However, what we need to define is, are we going to have zero tolerance and you're out of the group right away as soon as you start, you know, harassing somebody or being aggressive, or somebody doesn't feel safe, or whatever happens on the server, or even on a channel when you're representing? What if it's a podcast, right? What if somebody says, okay, Christina, you're going to do a podcast interview, and, you know, that day I'm ranty and I start mouthing off, and, you know, oh, well, there's Christina, she's representing a live coders. Well, no, she works at Aranasoft. No, she's women. Hold on, wait a minute. So it needs to be defined, so that way they understand, like, you're always representing the live coders. If you are in our group, you're always representing live coders. So if you're ordering a cheeseburger, don't be racist. You know what I mean?
But, I mean, right, these are things that you wouldn't be doing anyway.
Correct. These are things you wouldn't be doing anyway. That's exactly it. Now, setting these expectations, has to be stated, because
yeah,
you know, so I think really in those highlighted areas of the code of conduct that I sent over, just look and decide. Let's have some discussion over the next 2 weeks. Let's put out the code of conduct, say this is our new code of conduct, and then we'll let the policy committee, if they want to tweak anything or whatever, they can work on it, and they can, you know, do some additional surveying, or if they want to tighten it up. But I think it's pretty straightforward. If we're referencing, you know, Microsoft's virtual events, if we're referencing the new Twitch code of conduct, if we're referencing the Geek Feminism's anti-harassment policy, it's pretty straightforward. And the only decision we have to make is what constitutes a temporary ban or a permanent ban. Yeah, and then the process for that. Yeah.
Honestly, I don't have a concern about the Twitch code of conduct, because I think we can all kind of agree the Twitch code of conduct doesn't have teeth. It's very, very light and very lightly enforced, and the things they've been adding into it. I feel like we need to hold ourselves to a higher standard, because it's just, it's a little sad, to be perfectly honest.
Well,
just a note on that one. They have tripled the team size in the past 6 months. They are working very hard on what they're doing.
Good. That's great to hear.
So when it comes down to stuff like this, yes, I agree that the current is nowhere near where it should be, but it is going to get better.
Good.
Yeah, that's great. And that seems to be the general consensus all around going into 2021.
Yeah, it's going to get better. Don't worry.
You think, right? Everything's fine. No, I think that's an excellent point. And again, that's why I took those paragraphs, and you'll notice I put some other bits into the code of conduct that are from the Annalee Flower Horn's sample code of conduct too, for reference. And so I did tighten up a few things. And then if we just decide what constitutes the first harassment, 30-day ban, and maybe it's just, you're swearing, I don't know, whatever it is. Maybe it's a permanent thing, but we've got 2 weeks to think about it, put it out. January 1st, here's our new code of conduct, and then we can let the policy task force go from there. And really, I think each task force should just have that same procedure that they are to follow. If they have something, they work on it, they bring it to a leadership committee member, and then maybe 3 leadership committee people plus the founder need to review it, and then they move forward with their initiative. Some kind of a process that they have to follow, so the expectations are managed. What we don't want to do is say, all right, create whatever task force you want. We have 54 of them now. We have 2 people on every task force, and nobody gets approval from Fritz, and his name's on the LLC. So that it's important to have some kind of a expectation and a process to follow.
I would like to I appreciate the call out to these are the references where the sections on defining what harassment are and how to report it. I appreciate the call out so that it's kind of delegating and say, well, they define it over here. I'd like to grab a snapshot of that at the point in time that we say, okay, this is our code of conduct that we're updating.
Gotcha.
Bring it in so that something doesn't change over there that we don't know about, and we go, well, we don't necessarily agree with that. We like what they say right now, so we'll give credit. Hey, as of this date, this is we think this is a good idea, and we want to adapt these norms. Fantastic. The indirect reference, I don't think people are going to pick up and click through as much. Harassment being severe and immediate. I almost feel like that's something we want to turn up over like the next year. Be like, okay, we're not gonna ban somebody immediately unless you clearly violate Twitch, but slowly ratchet that up so that we raise the bar over the next year or so.
Well, I think, having the separate task forces with lots of people engaged, I think, if we start setting up the podcast and promoting more live coders and having them more engaged, I think there definitely is going to be just naturally the cream rises to the top, right? Naturally, when you give people a place to express their creativity, they're drawn toward it. And in those healthy ways, they'll express it. When they are not feeling heard, or if they're feeling frustrated, or if they can't communicate, they'll just start, being really frustrated. And so this, I think, will give them buckets, at least to know where to put that creative energy. So if it's events, if it's a marketing thing, if it's whatever, some kind of policy that they'd like to help create, or relationships, I think that's really great. The next tool I wanted to talk about and show you is the brand style guide. Now, Mary had sent me the logo assets, and I cannot for the life of me find them. Can somebody send me logo assets? Mary had sent in Discord, and it was a chat, and I'm so sorry because Discord, I kind of get confused sometimes in there.
So the logo assets we actually pushed over to GitHub to make it real easy to find.
Okay, so maybe that's where they are then.
Let me. Is it digital swag? Yeah, there it is. So here is the link in chat. I was just clicking. I was just clicking through to the Microsoft Virtual Event Code of Conduct. I was like, I haven't looked at this in a little bit. I know this document pretty well.
Oh.
half of it has just been scrawl replaced with Arabic.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like, somebody hijacked this thing.
Which goes back to your point of pulling points out of it in case it changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me show you the brand style guide that I have created here without the logo assets in it. Let's see. Here we go. To share my screen. Which one? This one. Cool. All right, so I made a brand style guide. This is our communication tool, remember, for telling people what we're about, the tone of the organization, the type of programs, the things that we want to do, the audience we want to reach, how to use our logo, stuff like that. So this will come out as soon as I add the, can you see my screen?
Yep.
As soon as I add the logo assets in there. So brand style guide, it talks about the origin story. Remember we talked about how coding, you know, how live streaming is a mix of talk radio, public education, and experiential learning. The beginning, how we kind of came around and the virtual conferences last year, things that we're working on, the things that all the streamers on the live coders, the requirements here, our mission, core values here. Again, everybody's had a chance to look at these.
Are you scrolling? I'm not seeing
an
update.
I am. Oh, it's not updating. Okay, why is that?
I only see the first page with the logo.
Okay, let me change that. Try again. And share this. Okay, how about now?
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. So the table of contents, it's the origin story, about, the mission, the core values, the logo, the use of the logo, how to use it, the typography and the tone of the brand, the colors, meet our mascots. And so it has the fun little, let me scroll down here.
The porcupines.
Your little porcupines. They're great. The colors, see, those will go in there. Here are mascots, right? I pulled that exactly from, here are the imagery, right? A lot of the imagery used obviously for streaming. It's got that high contrast with the lights, educational, technical, inclusive, right? So this is the kind of imagery that we want to use. It's real positive, real upbeat. The target markets, you know, streamers who want to teach and help others, streamers who want to enhance their reach, streamers who want to learn how to produce virtual events, sponsors who want to reach developers, and even interns who want to learn from a mentor. Those are the kinds of audiences that you're reaching. And I don't know that any of you have really thought about that you're reaching 5 different target markets in everything you do. It's quite a big enterprise that you're working on in your quote unquote side projects, you know. Y'all are pretty amazing. So, and then programs. So I put in here the virtual events and how we've been working on those and how they can sponsor a virtual event and how we're still figuring out the mentorship program, communications, training, policies, the creator network where we can maybe have a sponsor who can sponsor streamers. And then the summary, I just blah, blah, blah. I didn't put anything in there, and, you know, it'll be just the contact information there. So that'll be our brand style guide, and we'll get that up and sharing with people and all the newbies. So expectations are managed, language, tone, imagery, is kind of understood around people. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about, was just the overarching goals for 2021. And I just wanted to end the meeting with talking about, what would we like to accomplish this year around mentorship, around training, around teaching, and even learning for yourself. Because what I just saw is every single person look at me in the camera and go, oh my God, Christina, are you kidding? I'm trying to make it through this week. You want me to plan goals for 2021? Even if it's something like, and maybe this is something for Discord where we can chat over the next 2 weeks, but just understand that, like the code of conduct, we're going to make a decision by the 31st. So maybe the overarching goals, what I would suggest is that we take 3 goals. Okay, we want to get some events this year. We already did the experimental ones. We know how they kind of go. Now we want to do, instead of 3 small events to kind of check things out, well, I guess they couldn't have even, you can't really consider them small. I mean, you had over 1 million people on the one.
So, let me spitball 1 or 2 things here. I want to hear Eric, Brian, and Andy have to think. Fellas, when I look at over the past 2 years, the things that we've done, not just on the platform, but with the developer community as a whole, we've all at one point or another built and delivered content to Twitch and on behalf of Twitch. There's a thing there where John and Matt saw the group as thought leaders for developing and are able to teach and deliver content to their audience better than them. So right there, I think there's a thing there where I think we want to continue to maintain that level of excellence. Is that being a little bit too brash? But maintaining that level of integrity where, gosh, Brian, you gave a talk at TwitchCon 2 years ago, and so did Andy, and I gave one a year or so ago. And Eric, didn't you give one also at one point?
I was at the dev meetup.
Yeah, there we go. Right, helped organize the dev meetup. So, right, there's a level of engagement and experience there that I think we want to continue to grow. And oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
They didn't have any bags of work.
Okay. Where I think we want to continue to maintain that, because folks look up to us, right? They don't look up to live coders, but they look up to what we've achieved, what we've accomplished. There's an engagement, there's a positivity there that these other folks don't have. That being that presence at Twitch events is one thing. And like some of the suggestions we saw, okay, how do we get outside of that and bring more folks into the tent, onto the platform? That's that next level where we were trying to do a little bit with some of these streaming events.
Yeah.
Is there engagement? Is it podcasts? Is it blog posts? Is it, we started some lists for folks who are new streamers that turned into a couple of folks turned them into dev TO posts. Yes. How do we get into these other mediums to make the team make not just the team, make folks aware of the team? We did Allison Day and Suze and myself were in Wired Magazine last fall talking about live coding. Okay. But I mean, it was a magazine. People don't read magazines. How do we get that online, that content
and that is a thing where we can do lots more of that too, where we're submitting streamers together to those. And as long as when they're published, as long as you have something to capture them, right? So once people write about you in Wired Magazine, if they go to the website, do they know exactly where to go next? Do they know what's available to them? Here's a training thing I can be engaged in. Oh, cool. Yeah. Do you want a mentor? Cool. I think a lot of those things would really help grow and bring that cohesiveness back into, you know, when we ran Girls in Tech Las Vegas here for nearly 4 years before we shut it down. But, you know, a lot of that was project based. When you have these little projects, people will come together around them. And so I know that we have only 11 minutes left here, but I think that in the next 2 weeks, and of course I'll talk to meet with David and Layla as well, and you know, this video is going to be available. But in the next 2 weeks, then let's finalize that code of conduct. So on the first, we have something, here it is, and then the policy committee, the task force, if they have any changes that they want to work through, they can do that. Yeah. But the other thing is, what are those overarching goals? Would we like to do, instead of last year we did 3 events, would we like to do 5 this year? You know, would we like to have a training program internally and externally this year? How many guest speakers do we want to come in for private internal training? 1 a month? That's totally doable, you know. Start thinking about those options that we talked about today, and then let's give the overarching goals. We'll set some overarching goals for the year. And that way, each of the task forces will know what they're working toward accomplishing. And then we're going to finalize the code of conduct by the end of this year, by the 31st, even if that means it's an interim for the policy task force to handle it from there and take it over if they want to make changes. And then, you know, giving those task forces that process. Maybe it means Fritz has the final say and he has veto power over whatever. Maybe it means if your initiative is going to cost less than this and it's going to whatever, go do it yourself. You don't need approval from any leadership committee person or whatever. Think about what those look like, and then let's talk about it on Discord, and then let's get those things finalized. So then I can set the times for the task forces to meet, and we can start working on some of those initiatives that were announced in October, you know, and then some of these are really just clarifying what's already been talked about, what you've already been working toward. Yeah, does that sound like a good plan for everybody? Does that sound reasonable? Have a couple more weeks to do that. And then if anybody else responds to me, like I said, I reached out to 145 live coders personally and offered to chat with them. I've had 3 or 4 one-on-ones with people. It's all been really great information and just really cool. Such a wide range, I'll tell you. You've got a wide range. And so I think that brand style guide is really going to help you focus those initiatives and get everybody focused on the training, the teaching, the learning. And as they have projects to tie into, it's really going to bring that collaboration and cohesion that everyone's looking for. I think we're in really good shape. I think
I'm going to back off talking for a few minutes here. I want to hear from the other guys if they have something.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that it's late over there, Lucky, and I'm asking you to think, but I know that you've had a lot of these kinds of conversations as well on Discord, like how are we choosing things? How are we moving forward? Do you have any ideas on process or any ideas throwing out goals for 2021 that you might like to consider? Anyone?
I think just do better than this year, to be honest.
Awesome.
Because
I could do that.
Middle to end of 2019, the team grew rather quickly, and then we hit 2020, and 2020 hit the fan, and we did really well out of it. We pushed, we made it. We had some issues, and it's a case of we are working out those issues. And I think the goal is for the next year is to work out those issues and get them sort of fixed or on the way to being fixed. And then we can actually work out the rest of where we go. I mean, yes, we can have some broad goals like expand the reach of the team outside of Twitch, for example, and sort of push that a little bit further. But I don't think it should be the main goal for the next year. It should be, aside from solve our issues, it should be, okay, we can do this as well because we've got a bit of time as an extra.
Yeah. That all makes sense. I appreciate that.
I agree. I'm sorry. I'm just wiped and tired.
No, it's all good, dude.
But I'm processing everything, and I feel like things are heading in the right direction, and appreciate all you've been doing, Christina, to
oh yeah, of course.
So,
oh yeah, you bet. Y'all are awesome. I mean, even the one-on-ones, I'm talking with people. I mean, we're talking about job opportunities. I'm introducing my DevRel friends to somebody for some other jobs. Somebody else is like talking about their recipe. I mean, it's such a great group. It's great. I'm having a great time. Yeah. I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, it's good to hear. I don't know that. I think goals wise, I agree with Lucky. I always say Lucky, but Andy, in that let's lock up all these loose ends that are being viewed as like things that are troublesome or stuff that we need to just work out and get ironed out and get that foundation under us, and then that'll give us that mental freedom to focus on other goals that are being suggested. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah. Also, parsing through the survey, you could see that there's a huge desire for people just to for the team to be, more community, or get back to more community based, and like promoting each other, and just other means of promoting and sharing and stuff like that. And I think it's probably because of COVID too. Like, people really want, to be part of a community and everyone to hang out or do fun stuff together.
That's right. That's right.
Getting to those things along the way.
I mean, it might even be fun to know that even if it's going to be a spontaneous thing, one of the fun things might just be like, hey, we're going to have a random whatever every Tuesday from 2 to 4, and we have no idea what that's going to be, but here it is. Just some of those fun kind of things. I think people will just be able to plug into them in whatever way. And then whoever's in there, they'll say, hey, did you read their newsletter? Hey, I'm not getting it. How do I get it? And the news will spread as people learn that there are multiple ways to get the information, and not a lot of them are on Discord. And obviously from, the way that I reached out to 145 of them directly, they're not on Twitter DMs or Discord DMs either. So, and it's interesting because some people, have their alter egos, and I get that, and certain privacies too. So it's a different kind of thing. It's a different community for sure, yeah.
To kind of piggyback on what Eric was mentioning there, I think maybe as part of this going into this next year, I'm not necessarily saying let's not do things that are financially beneficial or whatever the goals are that Fritz you have financially for the group. Mm-hmm. I think maybe just not, I don't know, for lack of a better way of putting it, making that a back seat or not a main driver for things. Not that it ever really was, but like anything just to make sure that it's not perceived necessarily that way, that's the, and again, I'm saying this as I never felt that things were being driven in a way only for financial purposes with this group. But I guess in some ways that it could have been perceived that way over the past year or something like that, or with announcements that were made, right?
Well, I think also it's the communication about it, right? Sure. So if we know that, look, we're all about training, we're all about learning, we're all about teaching, and we're spending all this time, well, how can we monetize spending all of this time? How can we collaborate with sponsors who are willing to help us produce free content? We'll produce free content. That's great. You're gonna give us the money for the platform and give us we're taking the time off. I think the language, and as long as there are lots of other things happening, and as long as everything falls into those buckets, teaching, learning, the mentorship, the sharing of it, that's going to be the important part as the task forces are working out these initiatives and all these issues. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I get, all I'm saying is kind of what Eric was talking about is like getting that community feeling again should be first and foremost, and it should be very, very obvious that that's going to be the driver.
So a couple ideas that Christina and I had talked about, and I'll float them here. Jeff Blankenberg is looking for a way to have an Alexa Echo event of something, and he's not sure how to get it off and running, and he wants to figure out how to get some influencers involved. Well, Christina and I were saying, what if we engage with Jeff and his team, and we figure out a way to get, whoever wants to join, some Alexa credentials, access to hardware if you don't have it, and let's do some sort of a live coders Alexa challenge, right? We've got Amazon DevRel on the team that can help out with and we each do things in our own way with our own technologies, and we have some sort of a month-long showdown, and we show up on each other's streams, and we encourage and we troll each other, right? Something to do something around something that could be fun.
So it really brings in that collaborative, and it's month long. That's what I like. So then it's not just one collaboration. There are multiple opportunities. And so when the first collab happens, then the next ones and the next ones. And by the end of the month, it's just going to be so much. And then, Alexa wins. They get all this tech and they get all this R&D, right? This is what we did with it.
Right. We've built up and collaborated a bit, and hopefully we've gotten some cross promotion to each other. So, there's a bunch of opportunities there, whether it's Alexa, Raspberry Pi was floated as a technology, whatever it is, right?
Whatever it is, but some kind of a coming together, and people can also, they can plug in multiple ways. So it's not just working on the tech, but it's also the collaboration, it's the coming in on other people's streams. It's the, off the stream, even collaborations. I saw like that.
Goose working on his stream. It was amazing. You're not going to beat it, Clarkio, blah, blah, blah.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of that stuff is really great. And once we set those parameters for the task forces, like I said, let's set some overarching goals. Whatever it is that we're working toward this year, this is what we're working toward, being more community-based, promoting and sharing each other more. Those kinds of things, tying up all the loose ends that have been troublesome, build that foundation.
And Andy, I think you had used the term at one point, let's get people past the ducks and the chickens on the science and technology category. Let's get so that when you tune in science and technology, the first three channels you see aren't the ducks, the chickens, and the earthquake monitor, right? Let's get about a half dozen of us at least above that, right? Get the promotion of, hey, there's coding out there. There's some really great folks with great personalities. Get them leveled up past there. Right? What is it? We have 10 partners on the team. You know what? Let's see if we can get 5 more.
Yeah. Right.
We may do. I think we lost a couple, didn't we?
We did. Right. I forget whatever the number is.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's raise that by 50%. Right. Let's get folks promoted to partner. Right. There's a goal there that I don't think anybody on the team is going to say, no, we don't want to promote people to partner.
Right. Yeah, I really like that, and throwing that into the bucket maybe of the mentorship task force or any newbie applicants, right? Who want to set some milestone goals along the way. I think that's all really great. We're 3 minutes over, so I'll say goodbye to everybody. If anybody wants to stay on and chat more, and of course, I've offered if you ever want to talk one-on-one or phone or text or rant or whatever, I would love to talk and chat and just learn about what you do. And I'm learning more and more about Twitch. I don't know a whole lot about Twitch, but I'm learning more about Twitch. I can't believe y'all sit on there for 8-10 hours a day. It's wild. Some people are just streaming all day.
What's Lana's clock at right now? And she just did she just move?
She's in the process of moving. I think she's actually doing some IRL streams of her packing boxes.
Yeah, she's at 4 hours in so far, and she's definitely in a different location.
I like it. I'm jumped in on some of your I don't understand what y'all are writing, but I like the company. So I'll hang out for 20, 25 minutes. Hi, I'll do a wave, whatever. And then my kids will likely come and grab me for something and I got to go. But I like it. I like just hanging out with people to just hang out.
Yeah. Chrissy, Potato Quality, she's doing her, I think it's amazing watching her write a book and building the samples in tech live on Twitch. That's like, okay. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Where else could you see that?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate your time. Reach out anytime. Y'all have my cell phone number. I'm probably awake. I don't sleep, so don't worry about the time. And my ringer's always off, so you're never going to bother me because I do international business. Yeah.
Isn't that a Vegas thing? The city that never sleeps?
Oh, yeah, it is. That is true. That is true. That is true. I used to tell people, don't worry about texting me or calling me any hour because, I travel a lot and I'm in different time zones, but now I'm not traveling and I find that I still don't sleep. It doesn't matter. So it really doesn't matter. Chances are I'm probably awake anyway. Yeah, it's all good. Well, wonderful. I hope that everybody enjoys your holiday, whatever that means for you. Please stay safe and healthy. Please.
You too.
Yeah.
All right.
Excellent. All right, I'll talk to you later. Yeah, don't hurt anybody.
Catch you later, everyone.
See ya.
All right.
See ya.
I'll stick for a little bit.
Ooh. It's good to relax for a little. I'm gonna stop recording.